Today, we're talking about using storytelling for your community to build a community. This is a topic that's really dear to my heart, something that resonates with all of my background and training. My original background and training was I was actually studying to be an English professor, and so I'm extremely interested in storytelling. And then I went into journalism and spent a lot of time, in that space, in that world. The narratives we tell, the stories that we have, convey the values of the kinds of communities in which we live and in which we participate. And I can think of no better person that I'd rather have on this conversation with me than my friend Ahmadou Diallo. Ahmadou, or goes by Mad. Hello, my friend. Hello.
Hi.
I'm so incredibly glad that you're on this. I can't remember if you were on a stream of mine some time ago. The last time we were talking about International Community Day, has it been that
Yes,
long?
yes, exactly. It was the first time that I think I got the opportunity to meet you virtually when you organized that first meeting for the International Community Day, like almost 1 year ago.
My goodness, my goodness. Well, it's been a gratifying year getting to know you better, following your LinkedIn stream, following your video work and your Medium articles. You are a warm and uplifting voice in the world of community building, and I'm honored to have you as a friend and as a colleague and as a collaborator on International Community Day as well. Um,
Yeah,
why don't we start out by telling me a little bit about, I think appropriate to storytelling. Tell me a little
yeah.
bit about your origin story. How did you get involved in communities, and sort of how did you get to where we are today?
Yes, I think it's very interesting. I will try to make it very interesting. If I can share my screen, maybe. Just I have
Absolutely.
prepared something because So I will start by I have prepared not to try to bore you too much, but sorry, this this is sorry. I have some technical issues. Let's say. Okay, let's start here. So do it like this. It's easier. So basically, I was born and raised in Dakar, Senegal, West Africa, and then I moved to France in 2000, and I did my studies in France, in the south of France, and at some point I ended up in I would say a big company, Airbus, the aircraft manufacturer. And I always remember, when we were there in Toulouse, in the south of France, I was on the premises, and always I would see some other black people because we are not a lot. Sorry, yeah, in France, working at Airbus in Toulouse. So it's like I am working. I see another black guy. He or she sees me, and we nod, and then we smile like I know the struggle. You know that I know the struggle. And we did that, let's say, sometimes. And at some point in 2017, we said, okay, why not create a community? I didn't know that community was something that can be a profession like what you are doing today. So this is how we created the Airbus Africa community. And I like to use the quote of Kwame Nkrumah, as you can see here, who was saying that I am not African because I was born in Africa. I am African because Africa was born in me. So it says that really for us, this community, this Airbus Africa community, is not about being black or being born in Africa or being white. It's really the sense of belonging to the continent in some shape or form. So this is really how I get into community building. Then after I have participated to build another community which is called the Maker North Sud community. So basically, this community also, it's about, it was in 2020, I had my first child. He was almost 1 year old, and then my parents are living in Dakar, Senegal. So they had never saw him via WhatsApp, all of that. So I went in 2020 in January in Dakar so that I can introduce my firstborn son to my parents. And then 3 months after, it's the COVID crisis. And then I was wondering with some colleagues from the Airbus Africa community what we can do to try to support people in Africa and in West Africa for me. and then after I participated to building another community. So this is really how I get into community building.
It's such an amazing story, and I didn't even know that part of your story about Makers Nord Sud. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah,
Um, I, I I knew I loved you for many reasons, but now another one is that because just sort of the entrepreneurial nature of makers and the maker culture
yeah,
is near to my heart for sure. So um, thank you, for the background and for sharing that. I'm kind of wondering, just maybe just as some initial reflections for us
yes,
to think
yeah,
about using storytelling tools to
yes,
think about the essence of storytelling. Uh, when I think about stories, I go back to some of my early training in literature and just a lifetime of reading comic books
yeah,
about movies like high culture, low culture, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Stories seem to me, at their essence, to provide a couple of things. They
yeah,
entertain,
yes,
they can inform or educate, and they can uh, affirm connections
yeah,
and move us to action, to move us
yes,
maybe to be our best selves.
yes,
Um, Now, I things in your title at the
yeah,
bottom at the bottom of the screen there is griot. Uh,
yes,
what
griot.
is a griot? Because I think that's related to what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
storytelling. I think it's a good transition. I will share another presentation maybe.
Okay.
So there is he's not this person is not my because his name is Amadou Ampatepa, and he's a writer and a very known writer. He's deceased, but he said something about the power of storytelling, and I will come to the griot aspect. He said that in Africa, when an old man dies, it's like burning a library. It means that in Africa, particularly in Senegal, West Africa, there are a lot of things that are not written. We use language to educate children, to pass messages and stories from one generation to another. So a griot in Africa or in Senegal, West Africa, is someone who is part of like a kind of a library of the stories of the tribe, of the rules, and of all the family. It's like a kind of a library. And a griot is someone who will learn those stories, and then when there are some celebrations or some people die, the griot will come and tell the story of the person that is dead, etc. So the griot is like this kind of, I would say, an oral Wikipedia, if I can call it like that. And it's really someone who is passing through the values of the community, who's passing through the stories of the community. So it's an oral tradition. So that's why I mean, you can see here there are three pictures from my grandparents. This one is my grandmother from my father's side, and this one is my on the right hand side. Maybe you cannot see. This is my grandfather on my father's side, and this is my grandfather on my mother's side. I don't have a picture of my grandmother on my mother's side because she died earlier. So this is really what drove me into storytelling, to say, okay, I don't know the stories of my grandparents because there is nothing written, and I don't have a griot who have lived with them who can tell me their stories. And 3 years ago, I was blessed with fatherhood, and I was saying, okay, how can I ensure that at least I am learning the stories of my parents, and I can transmit that story also to my kids. And I love African quotes, African proverbs. So really, this is for me the power of storytelling. This is how I really jumped into storytelling, because I want to learn from others and also to be able to transmit that. That's why I call myself a griot, even if I'm not like an official griot.
Yeah, but official griot or not, that's so powerful. I mean, that quote about when an old person dies, that it's like a library burning.
Yeah,
What a powerful image that is, and it immediately resonated with me
yeah,
because I just to share something a little personal about myself. My
yeah,
dad passed away a few years ago,
yeah,
and he had that storyteller's mindset, and it was something, when you're growing up with a storyteller, and you hear their stories, again and again and again, it's sometimes easy to maybe discount them,
Yeah.
over time, and to not see the value of them. But
Mm.
what became really clear to me as he was getting older and slowing down and his health was failing was his stories were what he was trying to pass on. And I
Yeah.
found myself realizing that, wow, I'm not always going to have these stories with me,
Yeah.
that I started listening more carefully and asking him more questions about those
Mm.
stories
Yeah.
and getting that history of what was there, to the extent that I've written them down. I've recorded some of his past stories. I mean,
Yeah.
that what you're describing as the griot, that truly resonates with me, because I think we need to appreciate the stories of our elders
Yeah.
and how they're really passing along the values of the communities and families in which we belong
Yeah.
over time.
Exactly. I think for me, this is really what's important as you're talking about your father and trying to capture some of his life through stories. I think for me, I mean, we live and we die, but at the end, if we are all seeking immortality, but the best way to be immortal is to live in the mind of our loved ones when we are not here anymore. It kind of a little bit grim, but basically it's to say that when we are not here anymore, I mean, we live in the mind of people who are after us through the stories that we have told them, that we have shared with them, that we have created together.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, so, so let's maybe kind of turn it to that topic of community
Yeah,
building. We,
exactly. Yeah.
we're living in communities.
Yes.
What is that relationship between storytelling and community building? How do these things work together in the way that you think about them?
Okay, I will try to. I have prepared something. I want just to give a bit shout out to my friend, our friend Georg from the International Community Day, who have bit like a kind of a canvas of what is a community and how in a, let's say in an organization which is more like a pyramidal structure, a community is like a kind of a circle. And if you see a circle, storytelling is also about the same shape of storytelling is a circle. The journey of a character in your storytelling is a circle. So just if we try to keep in mind that a community is a circle in a pyramidal structure. Now, if you go back to, let's say, what is storytelling? Generally, we have the classic one, beginning, middle, and end. So this is kind of the classical way we see stories, but it's more linear and it's very difficult if you want to really to apply it to a story. There is Joseph Campbell who have written, the hero's journey with like 12 steps of storytelling. I think it's a good, let's say, framework, but I think 12 steps are really too long for what we want to do here. There is another person, maybe you know, who is called Dan Harmon, who is the guy who is writing Rick and Morty, and he tried to nail it down to 8 steps. Okay, so basically you have here the circle, like you the hero need to go and then search for something, find it, take it, return, and then change. So this is kind of let's say the link when I see storytelling and communities, because as a community, when we have a community, often we will build personas, and then after we want the people in our community to provide them some value. So it means that they are at some state before they come to us as a community, they are expecting something. And then after, how can we make sure that we are bringing them a value so that when they are in our community, which be, let's say, it's not like the kawan, but it's another way to see the world, when they are kind of a journey, a circle, and a community also is a circle of people when there are no hierarchy, etc. So this is for me really how we can connect storytelling and communities. And then after we can often ask, okay, how can I make sure that as a community I'm bringing some value to people? Because today there are many communities and all communities are trying to have people. I think trying to see our community also like a kind of a persona and try to say, okay, what is, let's say, the path of our community? This can help us to try to nail down the value of our community. So this is really for me the connection that we can do between communities and storytelling, either by taking the story of our community of storytelling.
So sorry, from where I was, there was a little bit of an internet gap there, but I think I caught everything that you were saying. So this is fascinating. I haven't in particular seen Dan Harmon's circle here, but this is very interesting to see. And the circular nature of this of storytelling is how that relates cyclically to the growth of communities, growth and change over time. You know, all communities go on a journey, and maybe not necessarily a hero's journey. Maybe one of my past guests that I had on, Sahana Chattopadhyay, was talking about the pilgrim's journey. Instead of the hero's journey, the pilgrim's journey is a group of people going someplace together and sharing their stories with each other, and experiencing change, adversity, finding what they have in common, and sharing those values with each other through story. And I think, you know, from my Eurocentric education and background, you know, like I go back to stories like the Canterbury Tales, you know, which is a group of people on their way on a pilgrimage to Canterbury, and telling a variety of different stories, and interacting with each other and reacting to each other's stories, and building a sense of connection and camaraderie over time with each other. And the value that comes out of that is that sense of belonging, even though maybe perhaps the people are very, very different who are part of those groups.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to add something to that, like saying that we can also use the power of stories to create a mood when we are doing some gathering with communities, meaning that you know that when we tell stories, they bring, as you said, emotions, all of that. So we can try to say, okay, for example, I want people to be relaxed here. I will tell them a joke, something funny, and then after they are more relaxed, so they can be more focused, more creative, etc. So it's also a way to say, when I'm organizing a community gathering, maybe I can write down some stories based on the storytelling, let's say, framework, and say, okay, today I want empathy, to talk about all people to be empathic in the workshop that I'm doing. How can I try to tell stories that will make people feel more empathic? Or how can I tell stories that are funny so that it can make people more relaxed, more eager to create? So this is really also another way to use stories in our communities, more like our communities of practice, when we are really gathering together, either virtually or physically, or in digital, or both ways.
I love that idea of using stories to inspire mood or inspire action in some ways, to have an emotional outcome. And I'm reminded, so one of my past colleagues, current colleagues, I guess you could still say, and who's still a huge influence on the community building space, Richard Millington, in one of his more recent books, talks about community strategy being built around driving emotions, driving that emotional connection, or, you know, certain kinds of outcomes that you're looking for in the community have to do with establishing a mood or establishing a feel for the place.
Exactly.
I could definitely see something like that.
Exactly. I will just share, maybe adding on what you are saying, like if we say what kind of emotion we want to have in our community. We can have, let's say, bad emotion by like, let's say, if we induce stress into people, so it means that they will have cortisol or adrenaline. It means that they will be intolerant, irritable, uncreative, critical, etc. But what if we can, let's say, try to take the red pill, because I like the Matrix movie, you know, blue pill or red pill. The red pill is, okay, how can make people have more dopamine in their blood, have more oxytocin and more endomorphin. But basically, for example, if you want dopamine, you will try to tell a story with a cliffhanger, so people are focused, are motivated, they can try to remember what you are saying. If you want more, maybe generosity, trust, and bonding in your workshop, you have to create to tell stories which are more empathic, more personal stories, maybe. And if you just want people to have some endorphins in their bloodstream and be more creative, relaxed, focused, you can tell a joke or play a video that can make them laugh, and this can, let's say, create those hormones in their bloodstream. So you are like trying not to control their mood, but more to tell stories that will serve your activity on that day.
I can really relate to this. And so I had written down some notes and some ideas before we got together today, because this is such an inspiring topic. Similar to what you're writing here, I talked about storytelling can be used for good or for evil, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And storytelling, in particular, can be used to engender kindness or empathy, as generosity, as you have written here. But then, there's also this dark side. And I think this has been so much of what's driven the big social media platforms over time, is that they have actually turned storytelling, they've weaponized it for misuse, because they're telling stories that cause people to react in violent ways, that either result in feelings of division or despair, grief, or outrage. And the algorithms actually feed those negative emotions. It's one of the reasons that I like small s social media, like the communities that we work in online, because they're not driven to any degree like that by the algorithms. They're more driven by the stories we tell and by the things we share.
Exactly. I think I wanted to share, because if I come back, let's say, to the storytelling, I think maybe one or two tips, because often we think that we are not very good storytellers. So I have something which Dan Harmon was 8 steps. I have something with only 6 steps to tell a story. So this is something that I learned because I was doing improvisation, let's say, classes, and our teacher used this framework to help us tell better story. So I call it a set say. Like, imagine that there is a set, and then you have, like for me to remember it, I am sitting in front of a set, and I have, like, say, T and F. For me, T is like Thor, and F is like Superman, and they have a sword which is Excalibur from the King Arthur. Okay, so basically you have 6 steps, and basically you can try to tell a story in 6 steps. So first you do the setup, so meaning that you will describe the environment and what the character want. And then after, there is an event that will trigger something from that character, from that persona, let's say. And then after, he will try something and it will fail. He will try again a second time and it will succeed. And then after, you can have an epilogue of what happened after that persona has succeeded. So basically, this is 6 steps, very easy to remember, to be able to tell a story. Then there is one thing that I think which is the most important for me when we are talking about storytelling, is what I call the narrative voice. What is the narrative voice? It's basically, if I tell you a story using the past tense, you are not really engaged, because I'm telling you that I already know the end, because I'm talking about it in the past. But if I tell it in the present voice, you can look, for example, Kevin Hart, the comedian. He tells a lot of funny stories, but most of people, when they tell a story, they tell it in the present time. So it feels like they are living the story at the same time as you. They know the end, but telling it in the present tense is really more powerful, because in that case, I'm not telling you that I know the story, but we are both living the story at the same time. So these are 2 tips that you can try to have the 6 steps, and using the present tense when you are telling stories.
These are great and practical steps to help improve your storytelling muscles. I think they're great exercises for us to practice. If we could go back to the first screen there that you showed, the setup and the I especially love this. There's an economy in the way this is put together, unlike Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Story. This has made it a little bit tighter. But I wanted to point out that this is a storytelling approach that you will see everywhere once you start looking for it.
Yeah.
From fairy tales and folklore, from once upon a time
Yeah.
to the latest movies that are out.
Yeah.
And that whole movement from someone proceeding from innocence and having that call to adventure, or like something has changed in their world has been destroyed, or they can't go home, to to leaving the familiar for the unfamiliar. And
Yes.
like, so I know right now, I think somebody who's thinking a little bit about this is David Spinks was just talking about this, I think the other week. The
Yeah.
idea of liminal spaces. Liminal space is
Yes.
a place outside of the ordinary. It is an uncomfortable place. It is a place of challenge, a place of
Okay.
trials.
Yeah.
If you think about, again, I'll go back to literature, Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Dante goes and gets a tour of hell.
Yeah.
And he's got a guide who kind of takes him through that, but it's a very uncomfortable experience for him as a
Yeah.
narrator as he goes
Yeah.
through this. We
Yeah.
meet
Exactly.
allies along the way to help us
Yeah.
interpret our experience. And then we come back to the world, and this is an important, that epilogue is so important. We come back to the world at the end because
Yes.
we've learned something, and the world has actually changed because of what we've brought back to it. So
Exactly.
I'm really interested in that structure. Now, people may be wondering how we bring that into our community building, and so it occurs to me that a way to do that is to use it to talk about the things that we think are valuable about the community,
Yes.
or the outcomes that we're
Exactly.
trying to drive.
Yes, exactly. I will just, let's say, jump in a little bit. I don't know if you have seen the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So it's a very great movie. I will not spoil it here, but if you are talking about a little bit earlier, you were talking about how social media platforms are creating division between us. I have looked at it, and I think in the old world that we had before, maybe we only have, let's say, one frame of reference. Now with social media, we can live, let's say, a lot of people, other people's lives, but each of us have our own frame of reference. Our own frame of reference is kind of a multiverse. So that's why I try to tie it to everything, everywhere, all at once. And for me, really, what is important when we have a community is that we are really trying to create a new common frame of reference. As you are talking about your story about the pilgrims, so we are on a journey together, we share stories, we try to see what is really what we have in common more than what divides us. So for me, this is really what a community is, and I call it the VIP of the community. So for me, a community has some values, has some people, and also have some ideas that we want to bring into the conversation. So maybe only using this framework, we can try to think about our community. What are the kind of values that our community is bringing? What are the ideas and the people in front or behind our community? And this is a way to create, let's say, a frame of reference that we all share together, and it will help us go in a certain direction.
I love that. I like especially the triangle of values, people, and ideas, and sort of that
Yeah,
interplay between the three.
yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add something to that, because often we talk about value. What is really value in terms of storytelling, but also in terms of community. What value do we bring to people? In terms of storytelling, when we talk about let's say value, it's a state of change. So you have a character which is in an ordinary world. They go, they live something, and they come back. As you said earlier, they have changed. So it means that during that journey, either their emotions have changed, or they have gained insight, or they have a paradigm shift. So for me, this is also the kind of value that a community can bring. So when I go attend a community event, I want either to be to change emotionally, or to gain some insight on a subject that I didn't know anything. For example, you talk about luminary communities. I didn't know about it 5 minutes ago. So now I have gained that insight. Maybe also it can be a paradigm shift. So this is really where I think there is a link between storytelling and community, meaning that really the value that we bring is we want to take people in our community into a journey with a common frame of reference.
I love that. I love that so much, and I want to challenge you with something provocative.
Yes.
So I'll make two statements.
Okay.
All stories are lies, and
Mm-hmm.
all stories are true.
Okay.
How do
Yes.
you how do you square storytelling, fictionalizing things with community building? Is there an inherent falsity and isn't there an inherent truth in community building? And I'm being a little provocative here,
Yeah. Yes.
but people that tell stories are essentially liars. They're
Yes.
making up
Mm-hmm.
narratives of things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
but my hope is that there's maybe an underlying truth, and that we're using those lies to
Yeah.
to a good purpose.
Yeah.
So, like when I'm thinking about community building,
Yes.
one of the things that I might use storytelling for would
Yes.
be on an online community, a landing page that is telling people what they can get by joining the
Mm-hmm.
community. What
Yes.
are the things that make this a good place to be? And one piece of that might be testimonials.
Yes.
I've worked with some online communities where the challenge has been, people are dealing with a health
Yeah.
issue that's
Yeah.
life threatening.
Exactly.
And I've
Yeah.
had people say, if not for this community, I would have died. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a powerful and provocative statement. I
Yeah.
probably can't probably can't name that person directly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to put things in quite the same terms, even if I put it
Yeah.
as a direct quote on a
Yeah.
landing page to the website. So it is a
Yeah.
lie in that sense.
Yeah.
I am
Exactly.
fictionalizing what someone has given me as a narrative about the value of that
Yes.
place. But it
Yeah.
is at the same time expressing a truth about what that space is or what it could be for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it okay
Exactly.
for us to be liars about our communities?
I, no, I think for me, what you are saying is that when we are telling stories, we are always connecting the dots in the past. I mean, we cannot. So when you are connecting dots in the past, we are picking, let's say, some elements of the past that we are connecting in a certain way. But it means that the most important part in that process is that we already know we have all the past behind us, and then we pick and choose what we want, and then we connect those dots to build a narrative. I think in that way, every story is a lie because you are picking some moments in your life. Like me, I write articles. When I'm writing articles, I have a subject, and I will pick all the, let's say, the events in my life that fit that event, that article that I want to talk about. Then after, I will tell that story. I think by picking, we are kind of lying at the same time. But also, I think as humans, we have been here for so many, let's say, millions of years, and stories are really the most powerful way to engage people, to have action, all of that. So for me, when I hear a story today, I think I will double check, or try to see if there are some other people who I believe who have the same similar story. So I will not only, let's say, believe one person telling me only one story. There is a Nigerian artist, so also I don't remember her name. There is a TED Talk where she's talking about the danger of a single story, meaning that every story should at least have, let's say, two aspects. So if you only listen to one part of the story, it's like me, I have my two kids, they are young, and if someone, the oldest one, say something, I need to go and listen to the other perspective before trying to have my own, let's say, judgment about whether or not it is true or false. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear, but I'm trying to make it.
It is. It resonates on a lot of different wavelengths for me. So I think about authors like Faulkner, or
Yeah.
Marlon James more recently, or Sheridan, who wrote Winesburg, Ohio. Like all of these stories are interesting because they actually they're telling some things that happened. They're connecting
Yeah.
narrative points from the perspective of multiple people.
Exactly. Yeah.
and that somehow the message emerges from the different perspectives that people are bringing, to that story. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good reason for, as we think about storytelling in communities, that
Yeah.
it's not just a single griot who's putting
Exactly.
forward a narrative about this is what the community is, this is the
Yeah.
monolithic community and everything that
Ex-
we are, but it's all of the voices of different people collaborating. We're all sitting around the campfire telling
yeah.
stories that are important to what
Mm-hmm.
it is to be a part of this particular community. And
Yeah.
I always say that, like, the difference between powerful, swift communities and those that develop a lot more slowly is that there is something essential that's bringing those people together. I think it's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why social media gets so fragmented, because it's like walking across a vast landscape littered with junk. Like, I
Yes.
can't focus on anything really well for any period
Yeah.
of time. But when we have these smaller online spaces, or when we have a live group of people who get together on a regular basis and we tell our stories, we're usually based around something that is affecting our identity, some
Yeah.
purpose that we have that brings us together again and again. That there's some benefit to us being together and making sense of our collective experiences, that we have. I find that really exciting. That's what keeps me in community building, for as long as I have been.
Yeah, I think yeah, you touch a lot of interesting points. It's like having a common shared value and always building our story together. And I think the fact that we are building our story together does not mean that it's like an absolute truth from the universe perspective. It's just that we have agreed together that this is our story. I think this is important. It can be both positive or negative, but I'm more in the, let's say, in the bright side of things. And I think really, as you said, for me, this is why we need to understand storytelling. We need to understand communities, because if we go back to the cavemen that we were very small communities, and I mean, writing was invented later, or let's say internet even recently, but in our primitive age, we have our primal brain, and our primal brain is the fight or freeze is, let's say, triggered by stories because it is linked to our emotions. So really, for me, it's important that we connect both storytelling and community, because this is really how we can drive change in a positive way into the members of our community.
That's so well said. Thank you. And I agree. I think that there is something formative in who we are as human beings. When we moved from being hunters, to forming communities of
Yeah,
people growing things, like the early Neolithic communities that were a combination of hunting and growing crops and things like that. We needed
yeah,
these things to reinforce why we were together. Storytelling was that glue that helped to say, like, this is why we are this particular community. This is why we are here. And if we're
yeah,
not good at articulating those stories, it's hard to move forward as a group. It'll
yeah,
fragment over time. Um,
exactly.
so, man, the time has just been flying by here.
Yeah,
And I feel a little bit. I know we've had a lot of people that have tuned into the stream here, but I haven't seen a lot of commentary. I don't know if we've just been sort of barreling over everybody. But I would love to hear from those of you that are watching, or if you're catching this on the replay,
yeah,
what your experiences have been, for good or for ill, with storytelling to build your
yeah.
communities. What's worked for you, what hasn't.
Hmm.
Are there some things that you maybe like to try that you've just been too afraid to?
Yeah.
Because this is a core skill, I think, for any of us that are in this space. Um,
Yes.
you, I think in the few minutes we have left, it would also be great to
Yeah.
turn and give a little bit of attention to International Community Day, one of the things
Yes.
that brought you and I together in the first place
Exactly.
too.
Yes. So
Um,
yeah. So yeah. Exactly. Maybe you will remember this one. It was in 2021. You
Yes.
can try to see where is Todd and where I am. I think for me, really, the International Community Day is something, an organic, let's say, community of community builders where we all, let's say, connected together in the midst of COVID-19. Everybody was separated in 2021. And we managed to, let's say, launch this event on the 8th of October last year. We did an event and we want to do it in the 8th of October this year, like it's almost in 1 month. So really, I think for me, even if the international community day stopped here today, I am here and you Todd, you are here and we are speaking today thanks to the International Community Day. So clearly for me, the International Community Day that we will celebrate in the 8th of October, if you are a community builder, you want to have an impact, just go to our internationalcommunityday.org page, and we are also on LinkedIn. And make sure to see what we are doing. We will organize a lot of events on the 8th of October this year, online, on all different communities. We want to do like a 24-hour session all around the world. I mean, many things that we are preparing. So make sure to tune in and just see what we are doing and see how you can contribute not to the International Community Day, but to your community locally. So this is really what I wanted to share about the International Community Day. And this is how I met you. I could tell the story of how I met Todd, and it would be the International Community Day would be the answer for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was once upon a time we were all thrown together in a Zoom call to talk about this thing, and none of us knew what it was going to look like. And I think for those of you that are in the community professional space, there are lots of events around community. There's community management appreciation day in January. There are various conferences and things around. International Community Day, I think the way we ended up talking about it last year, and I think what's continued as a vision this year, although I haven't been able to be as involved with some of the planning, I know you've been much more of a spearhead for that work. It's about celebrating building communities, those who build communities, and the diversity and creativity of the people who come together around communities. I think it's about bridging the gap between community builders in different countries, in different cultures, in different spaces, and really celebrating those differences and the things that are same about us, the things that we share as values. So I'm so grateful that it's continued. I'm really looking forward to it this year as well. And I think I'm going to be talking about it with one of our other co-conspirators in this effort. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing another live stream with Tanja Lab, who is absolutely wonderful. There she is. And she's going to be the next guest on the show on the 23rd, same time of day, 10 a.m. U.S. Central Time, and we'll be going into more detail about what that program is going to look like, what you can do, how you can be a part of this international, this global celebration of the value of community. And I think it's coming at a time when we need it more than anything, because with countries being more divided. With people tearing themselves apart with politics and and divisions that are being stoked by people who have ill intent, that focusing on the good, focusing on the things that we can build together is so important.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm happy that even each of us we are like maybe putting just a drop in the ocean of good. But still we are not, let's say, we are on the action side. I love, for me, my life, I see it's something where I'm in action. I will fail, but I still will try, because I only have one life. And I really want to see where I can contribute. And this is why I joined the International Community Day. Even if I'm not like officially a community builder, but I have been building communities without knowing that it was, let's say, a passion or a mission that I could do in my life, but I'm really in that let's say in that space where I say, okay, what can I do for my communities, be it like locally in Toulouse in the south of France where I'm living, or be it remotely for people in West Africa, in Dakar, Senegal, where I am from, where my parents are today. So it's really having a local impact, either virtually because it's far, or either locally in my own community, in my own company where I'm working today.
Well, I would say that you are indeed a mighty community builder, my friend, and I'm so grateful to count you among the people that I draw strength from every day.
Yeah.
I always look for your LinkedIn posts if you know, and speaking of
Yeah.
congratulations, I hear that you're coming up on your 150th article on Medium.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have been writing like on a weekly basis for 150 weeks straight, and I have my 150th article, which will come in 4 weeks because I'm batching my articles as every content creator because we need some time to live also. Yeah, and I thank you also, Todd, because I like quotes, and before I will leave you with two quotes before we leave, and one call for action for all the people who are watching it live or on replay. So yeah, I like quotes, African quotes that I post every day on LinkedIn, every working day, because I share it also internally at Airbus where I'm working. So I know that you are one of the supporters of my quote of the day on LinkedIn. I want to thank you for the appreciation.
Always, man, always. I look forward to them, and some of them make me scratch my head and say,
Yeah.
I wonder what that means." But others are quite profound. I really draw a lot of enjoyment from those every time. So yeah, please lay them on
Yeah.
us. That'll be a great way to go out today.
Yeah, so I have maybe two quotes that because we are talking about storytelling and storytelling is a kind of a language, and it's Nelson Mandela who said, if you talk to a man in a language that he understands, that goes in his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that go to his heart. And as human being, the language of storytelling is really the language that we understand. And if so, we want to speak to people so that they can really hear what we are saying. We really have to speak in their own language. And I think the language of storytelling is really universal. So if you want your message to get across, make sure that you are talking to the heart of the people and not to their head. So this is really something that is important for me. And before I go to the last quote, maybe we can close the session. I just wanted to say, if you found what we have shared here valuable, I mean, this I will share with you if you ask Todd. But I know that Todd, you have a YouTube channel.
I do, yes. Clocktower Advisors up on YouTube, and
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, we simultaneously stream over onto YouTube.
yeah.
In fact, I think we've got 2 viewers over there right now. Hello, guys.
Okay.
Maybe to join.
Yeah, so I have a challenge for all the viewers, either be it live or remotely. I want Todd to have 100 subscribers before the next event in next week. So if you found value on what we shared here today, if you found value on Todd's, let's say, amazing work, I really want you to go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. We will put the link below in the banner, and make sure, or you go to youtube.com, you search for Clocktower Advisor. I want him to hit the 100 subscribers as fast as possible. That will be a gift to me and to him and to you for your amazing work. And maybe I will finish with one quote from Maya Angelou, who said that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this is important for me because at the end, this is what will remain when everything has vanished. And I really want to say thank you to you, Todd, because each time I'm around you, we have never met physically, but I feel like you are someone a leader who's creating a safe environment to really make people be who they are. And I want to thank you for that.
Mad, my friend, thank you so much for your wisdom and your kindness. And one day we will meet in person, I hope. And on that day, I'll give you a big hug. So
thank you very much, my friend.
Yeah. So I think this is a great note to end today's talk on. I really appreciate everyone who tuned into this or who's checking in on this as part of the replay. And I would also encourage you to strongly to follow Mad both on LinkedIn as well as on his YouTube channel as well. And we'll be sure to get the link of that up into the chat as well. And in the meantime, if you'd like to hear more about storytelling, I think there's a lot more potential around this as a topic to go into in greater detail, in greater depth. And so let us know in the comments. Please make comments, like, share, so that we can get a good conversation going around this topic. And in the meantime, I will be back on again. I mentioned Tanja Lab is going to be on with me about International Community Day on the 23rd. Before that, however, we're going to be doing another special live stream event on the 21st at 10 a.m. U.S. Central Time on post-CMX Summit recap. This is not a CMX event. I'm not affiliated with them. However, I'm going to be a virtual presenter at CMX. As will my colleagues Ilker Akansel and Jenny Wagle. And if you tuned in 2 weeks ago, you saw us talking about the upcoming event, which is going to be just next week, Wednesday, Thursday. We are going to be coming back together and talking about our takeaways from that great community event that day. So looking forward to that as well. With that, we're going to go ahead and close things up. Matt, thank you again. I love all your work, man. Looking forward to hearing more. And for those of you who tuned in, be good to yourself this weekend. Go take care of yourself, because you can't feed others unless you feed yourself. And we will see you again in less than 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.